Hey guys, welcome to the worst movies of 2017. This has been a great year for movies, but then there are movies which were not very good, and there are some movies that were very disappointing, and those movies are on this list. There are movies on this list that I may have given a good rating to before, but they've got worse in my mind as I've thought about it, or at least much more disappointing, and those are also here. So if you see a movie over here which I gave a good rating to once, and I thought it was good, but then I thought it was not so good, and it's on this list, I'm very sorry about that. There are movies on this list that people will want to see. Maybe they're not on this list, but there are movies that people will want to see on this list that are on this list. And one of the movies that is on this list that is going to... I'm saying list a lot. It's New Year's Eve, guys. It's New Year's Eve where I am right now. It's amazing. I can't believe we're finally at the end of the year. But all that said and done, let's talk about the 10 worst movies of 2017. This also does include disappointing movies, though. Number 6 and number 10, to be precise. So without further ado, number 10. At number 10 is a movie that I didn't want to put because I really like Ben Affleck and I really like him a lot as a director and a writer. That said, Live by Night was disappointing. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the film, I thought it was fine. I actually liked a few things in it. But the more I think about it, I really just liked the first half hour and the last 10 minutes of the movie. Aside from that, I didn't really like the film. It bored me. It was very lackluster. It was not very well written, which is kind of surprising because he's known to be a good writer as well. It was kind of like a film where it felt like he took everything onto himself, and I think that was a huge mistake. He wrote, directed, produced, and acted in it. It does feel like it's a bit too much at times, and you can tell. I feel like if he had just directed it, it would have been much better. But as it stands, I thought that this film was disappointing. And I don't like putting Ben Affleck's movies on a worst list. Definitely not. I know some people are going to put the other Ben Affleck movie this year on their lists. And I'm sure people will want to see that on other lists as well. But I actually like that other movie. So as it stands, yeah, I'm sorry. This is actually kind of disappointing. But... like I said, I don't hate this movie. This is actually the one movie on this list I don't hate. This is just disappointing. Number 9. At number 9 is Geostorm. I should have loved this movie. I love dumb fun stuff. I just gave an explanation earlier about why Transformers was a guilty pleasure. That's something. I should have loved this movie. And I didn't. I hated it. It was a 2012 Interstellar, Day After Tomorrow, basically every Roland Emmerich, and apparently now the one ambitious space-based Christopher Nolan movie ripoff. It just combined every disaster movie you've ever seen, everyone that you can think of. I mean, really, there was 2012 elements all throughout this thing. Day After Tomorrow was in this thing. Interstellar was definitely in this thing. Every single thing was combined to make this movie. There's an arc between Gerard Butler and his daughter where I swear to God, Gerard Butler says the exact lines that Matthew McConaughey says to Murph before he leaves for the mission in Interstellar. I'm coming back, I promise. I'm coming back, I promise. They even do the same kind of gestures, the same kind of hugs. Oh my God. I hated it. And the whole thing comes down to a secret code that the brothers, Gerard Butler and Jim Sturgis, have, and it's because of that that they're able to do anything. What a great idea. Again, this is... oh God. Number 8. At number 8 is The Dark Tower. Now, I'm not really happy about this. I'm not happy that Dark Tower's on this list because I like Stephen King a lot, and one of his movies was on my long list of best movies of 2017, that being It. I really loved it, and so was Gerald's Game, in fact. I love those two movies, and now, somehow, one of his other adaptations this year was not a good movie at all. Now, full disclosure, I haven't read all the Dark Tower books. In fact, I have not read the Dark Tower books. I've read some of Gunslinger, and I do want to continue that. I've been really busy. But I can tell you this, from the get-go, I was like, something just feels wrong about this, because even from what I read, this is really not what this movie is representing, and it's actually a very messy movie. It's like 95 minutes, and it's actually combining a lot of the books. I think it's like 7 books they're combining, and they're making it a sequel to the original. I don't really know what they were doing. It was just a really messy film, and I really didn't like it at all. Number 7. At number 7, Resident Evil, the final chapter. Yes, I saw this movie. Yes, I did not like it. Yes, I'm glad the Resident Evil series is over. Thank God for that. I saw this movie very early on during the year, and I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, this is a mess of a movie. I am so glad that they're not, well, making any more of these movies. Reboot the series, start it all over again, do something completely different. Don't keep up to the same thing over and over again. It'd be better. It makes so much more sense to do that because right now this film is a mess. I did not like this movie one bit, and nor should you. This was not a good movie. This was just not a good movie. It was shaky, it was jumpy, it was all over the place, the editing was off, it was awful. This was a really disappointing movie from start to finish. I really did not like this movie at all. Number 6. At number 6 is The Great Wall. This was not a good movie. It has nothing to do with Matt Damon. It has nothing to do with the whitewashing controversy. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to bring something like that up. That's for another movie. That's not on this list. But if you really just look at this as a movie, it was a mess. It was just not a good movie. It was a terrible movie. It was very disappointing, and I did not like it at all. It was just boring. It was really boring, and it just wasn't good. It was not a good movie at all. I'm really coming to the more savage takedowns of these movies, if you will, because that is this list very soon. Trust me, we're getting to the big ones now. Number 5. At number 5 is The Snowman. Oh God. Now, every time a Michael Fassbender movie makes my worst movies list, which is now 2 years in a row, it just saddens me because I really like the actor. I really like this guy, man. I don't want to see his movies in the worst movies list of 2017 or 2016. Last year it was Assassin's Creed, and this year it's The Snowman. I did not like this movie. I thought this was a bad movie. This was a movie that I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Michael Fassbender honestly looked like he was sleepwalking through it. I don't think he was even interested in this movie. I'm sure he was at one point, but it just didn't seem like it from what I could tell. His name is Harry Hole in this movie. That's also probably one of the reasons. Pretty sure he was reading the script and he was like, no, it's not working out. Rebecca Ferguson's also in this movie. She's trying, not working either. J.K. Simmons is really, I don't know what he's doing. And Val Kilmer was in this movie. It didn't even sound like Val Kilmer. From what I hear, apparently he was ADR'd. I don't know if that's true, but can someone confirm that, please, if that's the case? Because that was also a really messy thing. This was a very poorly edited film, beautifully shot, but at the end of the day, this was not a good movie. And God, I'm sorry if anybody saw it. Number 4. Number 4, my favorite genre of all time. This is the greatest thing, okay? I swear to God, it doesn't get any better than this. Revenge romance thrillers. I'm telling you, this is the future of movies. This is amazing because Unforgettable was amazing. Oh my God. I absolutely loved this movie because of how shitty it was. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Probably. What a bad movie this one was. God help me. God, I mean, you cast Rosario Dawson. You're gonna have to get something out of this movie. You really weren't. This was a terrible movie from start to finish. The moment the film started, you were like, yeah, this is going to be obvious. It's going to be obvious that Katherine Heigl is going to be the villain because she walks into frame. I swear to God, she walks into frame, and from the first scene, from the first shot she's in till the last scene of the movie, her face is just this evil murder face where she just looks like she wants to kill everybody. You just know that she's got something deranged in her mind. She's just this stoic. Number 3. Full disclosure, when I first saw The Mummy, I didn't hate it. I actually thought it was fine. I saw it late. I didn't see it in June. I saw it in August. And I still remember thinking, it doesn't really deserve all that hate. Right? It was fine. It's not that bad. And then I thought about it more and more as the days went by. And yeah, it's that bad. It's really that bad. Tom Cruise is really trying here, and I really liked him in this movie. If there's the one positive I can say about this film, it's that he was really good in this. But aside from that, this film is the weakest attempt to start a cinematic universe I've seen in a long time. Probably the weakest I've ever seen. This was such a disappointing film. I was excited for this movie to an extent. I actually really wasn't. I saw the first trailer. I was like, yeah, this is gonna suck. But it was keeping out some optimism for it because, I don't want to make any film dead on arrival. I want to give movies the benefit of the doubt. The next two didn't get any, but I really did want to give this movie a chance, and I did. But again, the more you think about it, the worse it gets. And my God, I absolutely detested this movie. Number two. At number two is the Emoji Movie. Do I have to say anything about this film? Like, I can just put up a picture of a shit emoji from my phone, and it'll actually do every single thing. It really explains the movie in a nutshell. This movie is Patrick Stewart. I absolutely detested the Emoji Movie. This was a colossal disaster because this is a film that was essentially made for money, and you can tell that. It was made because they wanted to make a quick buck, and Sony was like, you know what, we'll make a quick buck. That thing that kids use, those pictures to respond, those little thingies, what are they called? Emojis? Yeah, we're gonna do the emojis thing. If you've seen my review of the Emoji Movie, you'll see that part where I was acting out as this drunken director executive who was deciding on the film and giving the idea of the film. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how the actual meeting went down, because this was a bad movie. I can't believe the voice cast that was attached to this thing at points, because it's kind of sad, and this was a terrible film. I hated this movie. This is the first movie that I saw that actually made me want to reconsider film reviewing. I wanted to quit. I almost quit because of the Emoji Movie. Although, one movie was worse than this that actually made me want to really, really, really quit. And I almost did quit. But then the next week I saw Logan, so thank God for that. Let's talk about that movie. Number one. If you have to guess what number one is at this point, great. I actually gave you the hint. February. Logan was the week after that. Take a guess what it is. Yeah, that's right. 50 Shades Darker. The worst cinema experience I've had ever. And I've been to movies where people were talking constantly. Very recently, I went and saw The Greatest Showman. There were 5 kids behind me who wouldn't shut up for their lives. And I swear to God, it was the most annoying experience I've had in the theater in a very, very long time. Since, Don't Breathe last year. Where there was this one guy behind us who kept laughing and talking. And he looked dangerous, so we didn't say anything. But these kids were absolute morons. And I told them to go fuck themselves in the last, bit of the film. By the last bit, I mean the credits started rolling, and I was like, you couldn't distract us. You guys suck. I wish there was somebody like that during 50 Shades Darker. In our theater for 50 Shades Darker, there was a guy sitting behind me. There were these 3 women sitting to the left of me who represented 3 generations of a family. That's nice. A 70-year-old grandma who was in front of me, and 2 other women on the side. One guy sitting way in the corner, and one old man sitting behind me. The old man was losing his mind as we were watching the film. When you see scenes where Anna's boss suddenly blockades the door and looks at her and is like, hey, I can fuck you way better than he can. It's like, yeah, I can see why the man behind me is losing his damn mind over this movie. Because he is actually having a mental breakdown. This movie sucked. I can't believe that this movie could actually be worse than 50 Shades of Grey. And I hated 50 Shades of Grey. That was one of my least favorite movies of that year, 2015 or whatever. I hated that movie. And if you think 50 Shades Freed, which is coming out in February this year, is going to be any better, it's not. It's going to be a terrible film, probably going to be even worse. People were so upset when I did this one fun trailer reaction to 50 Shades Darker's trailer, where people were like, oh, you're hating, it's going to be so good, you just wait and see. And then it turned out to be awful. And I was like, joke's on these idiots. The movie was terrible. This was one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. Dakota Johnson, bless her heart, is trying her best to make this work, and she's failing miserably because the script around her is one of the worst things ever written. And in a year where women were so open and so ready to say things against horrible men or horrible things that were happening to them, this is one of the weakest characters in film history. Anastasia Steele is just there to be dominated by over and over again. This film was a mess. I hated this movie. Absolutely hated this movie. There are so many funny experiences I had, like telling the clerk in the beginning who was like, enjoy the show. I was like, I'm not gonna enjoy the show. I just walked in. It took him like 5 seconds to get the joke, and then he started laughing. One of the worst movies ever. Just don't watch this movie. Please, if you've seen it, I'm so sorry. Hope you got a refund for it. Guys, thank you so much as always, and thank you for being a part of my channel through 2017. Thank you for being a part of all these crazy things, and I actually do want to say a couple of things. One is I might not be in New York for the next half year. I might be in the Czech Republic. I'm actually going for a bit of a thing, which is gonna be fun. So there might be some different things over there. I don't know how the channel's gonna work over there. Probably gonna work the same. Maybe there's gonna be a couple of delays at points, but as it stands for now, everything's working the same. This is the last video of 2017, and it's been fun. Once 2018 starts, a couple of days in, I'm going to put up my first review of the year, which is going to be for The Greatest Showman, which I just saw yesterday, and I thought it was solid. I'm going to do a review of that, and I'm going to review I, Tonya, which I also saw a few weeks ago, when I just wasn't able to review it because I haven't had the time. And a very early Happy New Year to everybody, and as always, I will see you guys at the movies.